Golda Meir said, "We do not destroy statues because we don't like the fact that who they represent does not fit into our modern world." The last few weeks, we've seen demonstrations around the world, the tearing down of statues, the pulling of famous movies. And I've been reflecting upon this. How do we respond to people in history? When we walk down streets, we see names, and some of those names are going to mean absolutely nothing to us, and others are going to cause a visceral response and reaction. Because we are not students of history, and especially if we travel through Europe, when we see the statues of the kings and leaders of the different nations of Europe, we are none the wiser in terms of what they did to us as Jews. We don't destroy those statues. We look at them and we learn from them. A movie like Gone with the Wind is a historical narrative about life in the time of in the South and what happened to the blacks living as cotton slaves. We don't destroy or ban the movie because of that. We learn from it. How are we supposed to know who we are if we don't understand our past? There are things in our past which are not great. On the Pesach Seder, we begin the Seder with Mitchila Hayinu Avotenu Avdei Avodah Zarah. Our ancestors were idol worshippers. The father of the Jewish people, Abraham, descended from Terach, who was an idol merchant. We don't negate that story. We don't expunge it from our history. It's part of who we are. We learn from the characters of the past and how they lived and what they did. There are things that are going to upset us in terms of our past, in terms of our characters from our historical narrative. But we don't stop saying the Psalms of David because of what happened with Bathsheba. We don't stop reading the Torah because of what happened with Moses being angry at the people and striking a rock. This is all part of our history. We learn from our history. And if we are not willing to learn from our history and see what the characters were, how are we supposed to improve ourselves as a society? If every comment and every article is met with distaste and displeasure, well, how are we supposed to move on and improve as a society? No one is perfect. Ein Adam, there's no person, tzaddik, that is righteous. We all make mistakes. We have to learn from them. And if previous generations wanted to honor certain personalities, then if we don't like it, we don't tear them down. We use them as a method to learn. The greatest challenge we have is when history becomes what we had for breakfast. If we don't know where we came from, how are we supposed to improve tomorrow? There are people who think that the world today is far more racist and bigoted than in any time in human history. But that's not true. There certainly are cases of anti-Semitism, racism, bigotry, and those have to be fought. But to tear down statues, to ban books, to stop showing movies because someone might be insulted. There's plenty of stories in our history as Jews. And yet, our response has always been, Let's learn from them. Let's prove them wrong. For centuries, the Jews of Rome refused to walk through the Arch of Titus. The Arch of Titus celebrates the destruction of Jerusalem and the slavery of the Jewish people. For 2,000 years, that's 1,900 years, that arch has stood in Rome. And for 1,900 years, Jews saw it, but we never walked through it. It was there as a reminder of what happened to us, that we learn from it. And then in 1948, with the establishment of the State of Israel, the Jews of Rome walked through the arch. You, Titus, thought you had won, but you failed, because we're still here. When I see the statues, my first reaction is, who was this person, and why are they being honored? And if I find that the reason is something that's negative, or something not to be proud of, well, then I have two questions that I ask myself. The fact that society does not laud this person anymore, that can only be a good thing. But that statue needs to remain so that it's a reminder to us of where we came from and where we're going to. When it's destroyed, there's no ways of us knowing where we lose our identity and our history. I'm against censorship. I'm against tearing down statues. I'm against banning books. If we do that, we belittle ourselves, we lose something about ourselves, and how are we supposed to compare ourselves to what was, to what we are, and what we wish to become? So, what do you think of this topic? Destruction of statues, the banning of Gone in the Wind? I'd love to hear from you. Please leave your comments at the bottom, and don't forget, if you haven't yet, please subscribe and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss out on any other ideas. Thanks for watching.